So we're back in Bali after probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Had a week off. We're still sore.
Good to be back.
In the lats.
Yeah.
And the shoulder muscles.
Shoulders, in areas of muscle I didn't know I had.
Yeah, totally. Like
Right?
little belts of muscle. But
really up here on these shoulders with the, some of the stuff we learned, I guess. And
So-
the hips.
so today we're just going to recap what we learnt.
Yeah.
Maybe the things that surprised us. We've got a heap of like awesome takeaways. I think it's safe to say that we're both like super amped around how it went. I know Jake thought he was probably like going to have a shooting like mid-70s, which obviously didn't happen. And that's just because we've got way too much work to do. And we'll talk about that idea of like the base.
Yeah.
Your home base swing is something you obviously have to work on at home, and you don't. That was a big thing for me, like just the idea of not tweaking on the course. But let's just go through kind of the recap. We went to Vietnam 2 weeks ago. It was so awesome. We played 4 ridiculous golf courses.
Amazing. All of them. In their own ways, like incredible courses.
I saw somebody, Matt put that link in our golf chat about the best courses, and they said Hanoi.
Barnard Hills, I think it was on there, yeah. Hoi An Shores we played. Oh no, it was Laguna Lang Co. Yeah.
Was that the one we played? Or?
With the water buffalo that you thought were donkeys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was
Patrick's in the pro shop and he's like, have you got any balls that don't have a donkey on them?
Yeah.
So it turns out they were water buffalo.
$127 on
It was too expensive.
Pro V with a buffalo printed on it. But
Yeah, so we played Hoi An Shores, Barnard Hills, Laguna Lang Co., which is a Faldo course, and then we played BRG Legend, the Nicholas course, and all of them were absolutely
they
incredible.
were all just ridiculous.
Very different.
Yeah.
Just beautiful, yeah.
And overall, we had massive days, didn't we? Like they were 10-hour days. We'd spent a heap of time at the driving range. We worked on swing. We worked on every part of the game, course management, and then we went out with Jake and got to watch him strike.
Yeah,
Strike
incredible.
the ball, just insane, wasn't it?
Absolutely incredible to watch him
My
play.
highlight was watching him at Barnard Hills tee off on that 720-yard par 5,
Yeah.
which you had to carry 285 just to get over water, and he absolutely munched it 30, 40 yards.
And literally just crept onto the fairway.
And then you and I
Just
teed
the
off.
fairway.
You and I teed off, 120 yards closer?
It fell further.
And we had to just fill over his ball. So, yeah, I think from a takeaway standpoint, I think we both left there understanding that there's so much more we can provide to people before they come on the boot camp, and that the boot camp becomes more of a refinement of the principles that we learnt, and like maybe the principles we went through. I think the one thing that happened immediately was the putting.
Oh yeah,
Putting.
incredible.
We immediately putted better based on what was taught to us. So that was AimPoint. It was working with the Metronome to get our...
The Metronome is
backswings.
fantastic. The Metronome
Wasn't it?
exercise with the Visio template, which is aligned to your specific putter type, because each putter has a different arc.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the line that we're following on the template, so the Visio template is a piece of paper on the floor, and it basically has your putting arc with a center line and then lines that go gradually out either side of the putting arc. And we use the Metronome at 90 beats a second for short putts to begin with, and just really feeling that tempo, and then getting bigger and bigger and further out the arc, and just hitting your center point on the beat. That built in so much immediate muscle memory. I think that was probably one of the shortest modules we covered in terms of time dedicated to putting, that just gave us the quickest immediate results out on the course.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
It was insane to see how many footer putts we were both eating up. Like I swear there was one hole where three of us sunk 30 footers.
It was Hoi An, yeah.
But it felt like the putting was really good. Like there was only a couple of 3 putts.
It gave that immediate confidence, which is what a lot of people lack in putting, and I lack definitely.
Yeah.
I tended to pull out of my putts for fear of hitting it too long or whatever. But just that Metronome exercise just immediately gave confidence in that putting swing and stroke when you know you're on plane, and all you have to focus on is your start line, which we also did with the Visio start line gates. So the little Visio mirror with the pins either side to make sure your start line's coming out straight. We did that exercise as well a lot. But it just built in immediate confidence. And suddenly you're like, okay, now all I need to focus on is distance control. And we did some exercises around that as well. So those 3 exercises were the metronome on the Visio template. Then we did start gate, making sure that our start line is correct based on our swing. And then the distance control drills that Jake had developed himself. They're his own drills that he taught us. And yeah, I mean, for the amount of time invested, again, it's proof that having those systems from a professional tour player that's had to go through it himself and learn how to get to the standard he's at and just follow his principles sped up our ability to learn so quickly and get us heading in that direction. But it was the confidence that I really felt that I had after that, and that's what a lot of people lack, I think, in putting.
I think there was definitely, I would safely say that we both gained 2 strokes just in putting, just on what we learned. So that was a
probably
good
more
starting point.
Yeah, we didn't measure it, but I think probably more.
I don't think anywhere else. Maybe bunker play we might have gained, as well. But everywhere else is kind of a byproduct of the overall default swing, which is going to take time, and that's probably what we learned, is that you really can't immediately patch up bad habits.
Yeah.
In that you're very inside, whereas I'm outside, and there's a lot of like ironing out we both have to do from our swing planes
on the swing side, rather than putting plasters on it, as Jake was saying. I think maybe the best analogy, if we continue the putting one, is the amount that we learned in that short period doing putting. Let's say it was 4 hours of putting and doing these exercises, and the results we started to get on the program. We concluded, well, actually, all of this stuff we could probably teach online through a video program and sending people the training aids that they need to do it. And then imagine if they spent 3 weeks, 6 weeks leading up to the boot camp practicing these things. And instead of coming in cold and we're having to teach them from scratch and then give them time to practice and apply out on the course, they're coming in hot. And then we can just tweak and tune and personalize the training to just optimize them even further. And give them even more gold and more value. So I think that was kind of the conclusion across all the modules. I'm just using the putting as the example. Back to swing, we kind of concluded quite quickly, okay, we probably need some time to really ingrain this because our swing habits are out of, the correct path and the club face is off and all of that. We actually need to spend some time practicing that in the same way, 3 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, leading up to the boot camp. If we can get players doing that on the swing mats and then bring them in and really just tune and optimize, and then, because I think I was thinking about it and I was like, what we want to be able to do with them when they come to the boot camp is, give them shot shaping as an example, but we can't give them shot shaping if their existing swing is already off, if their base is off. But we can give them the swing mat and the weighted club ahead of time and give them the online training program to follow with, bi-weekly check-ins or whatever it is to do the corrections remotely. And then when they come to the boot camp, they're going to get even more value because they've done the pre-work. I think that was kind of the conclusion across all the modules, right? Did you feel that way?
Yeah, 100%. Like it does also from a stickiness standpoint, like having the events as the build-up gives everybody a massive like motivation to keep implementing and like see progress, which is
and it's fitness as well, right? Now, I designed this intentionally to be very intensive. We couldn't run it the way we ran it. We were 5 a.m. starts, in the car by 6, on the training facility at 7, training all morning, quick lunch, out to play a round of golf, and we did that back to back for 4 or 5 days, and it's like it's intense, but there is a fitness component to it, and I think that also needs to be built into the pre-training, which is, okay guys, we need to get you up to fitness a little bit as well, and that's golf fitness. That's not just gym, because you hit the gym a lot, but it's hitting muscles and flexibility in areas that you might not be hitting yet because your swing's off, but when you get you on the correct swing plane, we need to build in that that stability in your strength and your core and everything else. Get used to that, which we do with the weighted club. So I think all that's super important as well. So the fitness piece is quite important. And if we can get people incentivized ahead of time to do that and do the training and know that they're going to come in hot to the program, and then they'll get even more value because we can just teach them the next more advanced level of everything.
Yeah, totally.
And I think the conclusion of that also was like, nothing that we saw there that Jake had taught us was rocket science. Like, it can all be learned by anybody, and it can be learned quickly, as in the putting example. You can actually learn it very quickly, and then it's just about ingraining it. And I think it's ingraining it in muscle memory with putting. It's ingraining it in muscle memory with swing, with the weighted club. That goes into driver, that goes into pitching, and all the other areas that we're going to talk about. But the more we can give them up front, I think we showed ourselves. I think we went there expecting that we were going to teach all of this stuff in the boot camp. And actually what we saw was we can teach them a lot of this stuff ahead of time, because Jake's done all the work to devise these systems by training himself and having to go to those levels. And then it's packaged up and simplified in a way that anybody can follow those processes and those systems, train with them, then come to the program and really optimize their game. And I think a big part of it is when they come to the program, as we experienced, there's a big difference to, applying it on the range and then going out on the course and applying it. Yeah. There's a big difference between those two things. And I think people will come to the boot camp and we'll teach them and let them practice how to take all of these things out onto the course and use them effectively. Because I found, and I think you found, when we were learning, our new swing with better compression and better path and club face and all of that, on the range, we were crushing balls. But the minute you go out onto the course, you suddenly start maybe reverting back to old muscle memory, or it's not ingrained enough yet to really, apply all of these things out on the course. And I think that's also a big thing that a lot of people struggle with. So how can we help players, bring them in, optimize their training even further, and then get them used to getting out on the course and really applying all of that stuff, plus course management, plus mental game, plus, scoring, all of that stuff, that additional stuff that you need as the holistic approach to the training. And I think, that was my experience anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that the big thing was understanding, like, there was an awareness that came from just working with a pro.
Yeah.
And now, like, I know what I'm doing wrong when I hit the ball, whereas before I didn't know.
Yeah.
Now I can self-diagnose most things, because just by straightening out the backswing, you reduce the amount of variables for, like, how things can go wrong. There's only a couple of things you can do: is be too handsy or not rotate.
Yeah.
It's like basically too much hands, not enough hands, too much rotation, not enough rotation. Yeah. They're like the only variables. But I think the big thing was, from like taking it out onto the course standpoint, it was learning that your responsibility in practice is to build the swing that you rely on, so that when you go out to the course, you don't have swing thoughts at all.
Yeah.
You literally just, your job of your routine is to get yourself in a very methodical way to the ball.
Yeah.
And then you just got to let your instincts based on your training kick in. Whereas I think what a lot of people do is they take like 6 or 7 swing thoughts out onto the course, and then it's just too many things. And then you focus on one thing and you're lacking focus in the other, where it's just easier to just be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just let the muscle memory
when you're about to take the ball.
over.
Yeah. And I think the components of that are, one, the swing itself and getting that on plane and getting that correct. And then the second is, what Jake has been so hot on is your setup and alignment, and they kind of go hand in hand. You have a great swing, but your setup and alignment's off, the ball's not going to go where you want it to. So they kind of go hand in hand, and that routine and that process of every time you set up to the ball is how you need to practice. Basically, not just smashing balls off the range. You really need to, every ball, take your time, get your alignment right, make sure you can feel your swing plane. And like you're saying, when you actually step up to the ball, you shouldn't really be thinking about anything, because you've done all the work. You just swing and you let your muscle memory kick in and your subconscious visualizing where you want that ball to go. So they're kind of the components really to building the best swing habits, I think, and the best, setup and swing, and then execution when you're trying to hit the ball.
It seems like in 2 to 3 months, because obviously our goal is to get as close as we can to scratch. Like, it seems like it's hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months, we should be somewhere with a more regular like swing shape that's probably kind of moved away from the flaws of our existing one. But it seems like then on top of that, we can build the whole game. But obviously, I have to work on chipping, and like that.
There's the minutia, right? There's the small bits that need to be focused on as well.
But it does seem on based on what we learned, it does seem like if the swing becomes more regular, and especially if you add shot shaping in, like it seems like a lot of strokes could be shaved very quickly, because we've talked about the idea of how many like dumb shots people lose just by hitting balls out of play.
Yeah.
Missing greens from within 100 yards, and then 3-putting. That was something that I did when I did those silly shot analysis. What would I have shot if I didn't hit balls out of play?
Yeah.
If I didn't miss, bunker chip outs or chips from like 10 meters out that didn't hit the green, and then 3 putts. And then you shoot 75, 76, 77 when you reduce the major errors. So if we could just get like a 15% improvement in our general ball striking, I really do think that aggregates very quickly and compounds into some pretty like mid 70 kind of averaging scores, I think.
Yeah.
But
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was even willing to put a number on it in the last podcast, because I was like, okay, let's say 6 to 8 months training this way in the techniques and the systems that I've seen from Jake at the dry run. Okay. Yeah. It seems pretty doable. Whereas before I was thinking 12, 18 months maybe. And again, we're talking about doing it without spending more, additional hours and hours training on the range. And, the system means you can train at home. And what we're saying is, and we're going to test this again, as part of the online version, we can train at home for 20 or 30 minutes a day, cover the swing mat, the weighted club, cover the putting, the metronome, the start gate, the distance control. All of that, applies to your irons, your driver, your putting, and then you've got, pitching and, whatever else left. So we can do all of that and achieve all of that by training at home without increasing the need for those, what the preconception is of massive hours to dedicate to golf to become single digits or scratch. That's kind of what we're trying to, we're trying to prove that that's not the case, right? That's kind of what we're trying to.
The only reason that seems to be the case is because the way that people calculate about the effort to get there is by literally rocking up at the golf course or rocking up at a driving range, which like there's the commute and then there's the time to do that.
Yeah.
So I think most people in their head when they calculate, it's like, well, I've got to go to a driving range or a practice facility and I've got to invest an hour. And if you're a half an hour from a driving range, that's 2 hours to train. Whereas what I think we're learning and why we think this is so achievable is because we've kind of hacked the root cause thing that will solve 99% of the problems, which is a square club face at the point of impact.
Yep.
That narrows the average dispersion by, let's say, 25% is enough to get you from hitting out of bounds.
Yeah, keep you in play.
That's massive.
Which is, exactly. Like you were saying, keep you in play. How many shots do we lose by taking too much risk off the tee and hitting out of bounds, having to take a drop, and then you've got no chance of getting onto the green with your second shot, usually generally on par 4s, and then you've got no chance to 2-putt, lag putt, tap in. And that's what we're trying to teach. We're trying to teach that ability to score when you want to be able to turn it on, It's great fun to go out there and smash balls as well, right? When you're with your mates and you just want to hit big drives and all that. But what we're trying to teach is how to score, how to get to low single digit scratch scoring, and all these things play a part in it. That's course management, risk management. But yeah, I think, Jake was saying, we need to have the fundamentals of the swing in so that the errors are reduced. We both have misses left and right.
Yeah.
Like you want it, you want a one-sided miss, which is a well-known concept in golf. You don't want a two-sided miss.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Well, we use the weighted club and the swing mat to hit our takeaway points and start to build that into muscle memory. And then when we know we're coming off the tee, like you just said, we know our miss is not 30 yards right, out of bounds. It's 20. Okay, I'm going to aim correctly using my course management skills, make sure I stay in play. And then that ensures that I have a shot into the green, because my second shot needs to get onto the green. So I have that two putt scenario. And that's how you have to play every hole if you want to score.
Yeah.
And reduce those errors. So we've been looking at this concept, like you were just saying, of how do you reduce, the out of bounds off the tee or being obstructed in some way.
Yeah.
So that you make sure you have a second shot onto the green. How do you then make sure that you're hitting the green so that you're on for your putt, your lag putt, and then you can, giving yourself a par putt to get down. They seem to be the three components of the course management that would deliver the best results.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're like 150 out, it's not even getting on the green, because you will get on the green a good percentage of that, but it's then having your chip like not obstructed to get on the green, so that you've at least got a par putt.
Yeah,
and if that, I think that's what I realized as well, is it's honestly, it doesn't seem that far away, because it feels like everything adds up. So like,
yeah,
even if your positions off the tee improve by 5%, then it seems like your positions around the green improve by 10%.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that decreases the total distance that your putts are from the hole.
Yeah.
And then if you've improved the putting, so it kind of
exactly.
really all compounds.
Add in the confidence of putting.
Yeah.
And then your putting margins reduce as well. You might be 30 foot away, 20 foot away, but you're not putting yourself 5 feet, 10 feet away. Yeah. After the first putt, you're getting down to 3 feet, 2 feet, more and more consistently. Yeah. So it all starts to compound. The further down the hole you get. And
what's funny is, I think people can't fathom compound interest.
Yeah.
As a concept. So it's hard to believe that improvement's just that far away. And the thing is, I've played, I don't know what your experience is like, but I've played with a heap of scratch golfers, and you don't actually see them strike it that much better than you, and they still kind of miss left and right, and they still have bad shots, but they just keep scoring.
Yeah.
So like, and that's what it is, because it's not that vastly different. Yeah. It's really just subtleties.
Yeah, they keep the ball in play. They recover well, and they get themselves in position to score.
It's like,
because they know their own game, they know the course management and the risk that they're playing to, and they're giving themselves chances. Because we're just talking about, do those three things to have par putts, but the more you do those three things, the more birdie putts you're going to have. Because you might be putting for birdie from 20 feet. Cool, you might sink a couple of those in a round. We've just offset your bogeys, say, or you're shooting under.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen that too with scratch golfers, and you don't feel like they're doing anything spectacular, but then they get they finish the first 9, and you're like, shit, they're like 1 or 2 over.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, I'm 8 over. I've been out of bounds over here. I didn't think about this on this side. I took too much risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that for players like us playing with scratch golf.
And then because if we use that logic, it also shows you how good pro golfers are.
Yeah.
Because like, they're exponentially better. They're not just like, it was pretty evident, like Jake like played insanely well, but he had blemishes every day. But if he removed those blemishes, and he only had blemishes, I think, because he was playing with us, and
he was coaching us as we went.
He was coaching us, and he took a couple of risks that he probably wouldn't take in a tournament. But there was one day when he had like 5 birdies on the back 9 at Hoyana.
Yeah.
Right. So like, we got to witness somebody that, is like +2 or +3. The gap to go from scratch to +2 or +3 is like, feels like 6 shots.
Yeah.
It feels like a vastly different game at that level.
Well, he said the average, like if they measured their handicaps, the average is +9 on the PGA Tour. They play off +9. And, you know, Jake said this many times, scratch golf is not pro golf. You know, the level of detail and the level of data and, you know, those marginal gains you have to go into to get into pro golf, and what he plays to is, you know, is bigger than I think 15 to scratch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a Formula One team who are trying to shave off hundredths of a second on every lap. That's their only average. That's the vibe I got. Their only edge. Actually. Yeah, that's their only edge. All they can do is shave off hundredths of a second per lap.
Yeah.
And over 60 laps, if they've got enough of an edge on that one thing that they're doing to get that, or that one thing the driver's doing, they win the race.
Yeah.
You know, so it's different.
Yeah.
Pro golf to scratch golf is very different, but that means it's very achievable.
Yeah.
And this is what I think we've concluded from this. Anybody can learn this. You know, we benchmarked it at 15 and under, and that's because that person has enough experience in golf and has maybe put enough of effort into to understand it and, you know, get a swing and practice and all of that. But there's nothing that we saw that week that a 15 handicapper couldn't learn and start to ingrain in their game and start to really quickly bring their shots down. I think we both believe, right?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think like the forecast, we've got an event. We toying with like March or April.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we got like probably like 8 to 10 beta testers that are keen to come along. Obviously, Barnard Hills was like amazingly well set up.
Yeah, incredible course,
like a training facility,
great team, really looked after us. The training facility was amazing.
Insane
they gave
us
two private rooms on the right with 3 mats. Yeah, it was the perfect setup for us. It will likely become our home course. And one thing we experienced as well was playing lots of different courses while trying to learn new swing technique and a lot of other things, added in too many variables. And, you know, we weren't, I don't think we were even getting to the point where we could use the course management on these new courses because we just didn't know them that well. We did pre-assess them a bit, but it added in too many variables, and we were, you know, it was almost too much. So actually having a home base course that people can come in, play once, learn a bit, that gives us a benchmark to help them develop and improve their skills, you know, across their game and course management and everything else. So I think that's probably the route we'll go. And then maybe do 1 or 2 away courses, you know, just for the experience and practice of applying yourself on a new course that you haven't played before, because that is an experience that golfers also have. How do we teach them how to do that? And test it, you know?
The cool thing with Barnard Hills, we could build out based on people's average carries. We could build out their course planners. Maybe 5 different course planners. Is like, okay, here, this is for you. Like, if you carry it this far, then
exactly. Once we have their distances, we
the kind of shortcut.
We give them the whole course planner and that's one of the modules is, you know, pre-assessing a course you're going to play and making a plan and then trying to stick to your plan through it. But we'll just print it all off for them and, you know, map it all out. These are the things you need to be thinking about.
So what do you think? Where do we want to be by February, I suppose?
Yeah, I guess adding the online pre-training component is something that we now need to build. So we need to put that together, which shouldn't take too long. And then you and I need to test that and follow it for a number of weeks. Then the same way we did with the dry run, we see what works, see what doesn't, optimize it again, you know, create a version 2. And then eventually that's what we're going to hand to, you know, our beta testers or our, you know, the guys that we have that want to come and be a part of the first trial event in March, April time next year. And just get it in shape, I guess, off the back of our own experience so that it's ready to go to those guys so that we can give them 6 or 8 weeks ahead of time, whatever that period of time is leading up to the boot camp. Once they're signed up to start following it, we send them their mat. We figured out one thing we talked about before and haven't clarified, I think, is we figured out how we can create a version of the mat that is more general for everybody. Doesn't have to be directly personalized in person, which is one of the challenges we had. So we can create a general version of it, send it to all of the people that have signed up, send them their weighted club, all the other training aids, the Visio templates, the putting stuff, So they have everything they need, and then all they need to do is follow the online program in the lead up to the boot camp, and that will give them, the head start they need and the head start we need to make sure we can create as much value for them in that week as possible.
Yep.
So we follow that. It maybe extends the timeline a little bit, but we're going to have a chat after this and sort of figure out what that looks like. I think we've got people chomping at the bit that want to come and be a part of it, especially after hearing about the dry run and our experiences.
Yeah, totally.
People want to get stuck in. And now what's nice is we can, and I kind of always said this before, it's like I want to be able to give the customer value the minute they sign up. Whereas before we didn't quite have that because we were just going to do it all in the boot camp.
Yep.
Now, like the minute they sign up, we send them all the stuff, we give them access to the online program. They can get started straight away, self-serve or self-training. And then a period of time leading up to the boot camp, it becomes a part of the program. Right, guys, let's get your training in order. There's a deadline, to the event happening. Let's get the training going, get everybody involved, get them on the community, give them support with the check-ins. Maybe once every 2 weeks, we do a group call with everyone, review people's swings, do correction clinic type stuff. So I think it's all getting very exciting very quick now.
Yeah,
because I think we see a path that we didn't, or we understand more now that we didn't understand before, and our adjustment is the online program piece, adding that in. You and I will test it and do it every day. And like you were saying, I mean, if I go to the driving range, it's a 2 hour. No, it's not. It's 4 hour round trip for me. Hour to get there, 2 hours training, hour to come home. It's 4 hours of time. Whereas the training program that we're going to put together online for the swing, well, all of it, swing, putting, is 20, 30 minutes a day, including the fitness, the swing training, the putting training, chipping training, so that's actually saving me time in a week.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is that 20 minutes, 30 minutes a morning. And hopefully, build all those things into muscle memory.
Yeah.
And I think we'll add in some theory components as well, which is the course management side and the mental game side, but not too much to overload them. And then when they come and join the actual program, we'll take them through everything again, correct everything, really optimize them, optimize their swing, optimize their knowledge, optimize their understanding of mental game and how to really get out there and score. And then take them out through the practical application, take them out on the course and get them applying all of that stuff. But where it's not new for them. For us, it was new. So we did all this training. It was new. Then we go out on the course to apply it. But there was too many variables going off.
Yeah.
And our game's definitely diminished because we're trying to put new things in. If we give them all this stuff up front when they come, then we can close the loop on all that stuff basically and get them performing out on the course and scoring. I think that's achievable.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the big thing about like the mindset part of the game is, like Jake was saying, is you're only responsible as to control what you can control. You can't control your swing. The control of your swing's a byproduct of your preparation.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing outside of the round. The only things you can control is your routine and your setup, club selection, acknowledging hazards, calculating based on wind, distance, etc. So I think even that is like really powerful.
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of taking a machine, out onto the golf course. Your only job is to align the machine and think about everything else. But it's also kind of setting the expectations that whilst you're working on that machine and getting your swing plane consistent, you can't expect to be a world beater.
No.
Like you kind of, that's what I think I'm realizing is over the next 2 to 3 months, I've just got to go out there and just take notice of what needs to improve with the machine and just control what I can control.
Yeah.
And not get too worked up about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Well, I think that's maybe a pretty good summary. I think we've got like I think we both believe we've got the intellectual property now to do some serious damage to our golf game and kind of push at least to, I still think like anywhere, I think from like a handicap of, we're probably both like in the range of like 8 to 11, 12. getting that, I think, like 2, 3 or below, I think is really possible in the next like 6 months, based on what we've learned, and we just got to now stick to the routines of working on the training on a daily basis, and
I think we document all of it. I'll record some of my training sessions so people can see what we're doing. You know, we'll record the whole journey so that people listening to this can also see what the progressions look like, right? And put that out, because that's the thing that gives you the most confidence, I think, is seeing other people doing it. It was very valuable having Jake there showing us as well, right? There was a lot of value in that, seeing somebody doing it and improving the results that he's got from all of these, you know, training aids and systems and methods. Obviously it's a completely other standard, but you know, we can use the same systems and apply them for our own game and see those immediate results, and that's what people want to see.
Yeah, I think it makes me think that I think the best thing we can do is build out the school platform so that it's working for us for the first couple of months, and as long as we're seeing a bit of progress, just start getting people in at like a $29 a month level. Yeah. So they've got access to everything, and instead of maybe sending them the equipment out, just go, here's this product, go get this product, go get this, go get this. And then we're just emphasizing why. Because we both now know why we have the equipment we've got. And we feel like we're at a point where we understand what the path is now. It's literally just muscle memory more than anything, isn't it? And mental, the equivalent of like habitual mental memory as well. And we just have to build the bases, I suppose. So, yeah, I think it's funny. It's funny doing the actual event. Where I thought we'd be now is vastly different to what I'd imagined. Yeah, but I still feel like we're way closer, even though we weren't shooting scores. But like there was just a heap of What's the promising thing is the other thing to take into account is we hit so many balls that I think we're just so fatigued. Like I was getting up on the last day, the muscles in my forearm to get the club up and cocked on the right angle were just, I just like, fucking stop. Yeah. Could you stop doing this? Yeah. But just...
but that plays a big part, right? Because if you can't turn, you can't rotate, your muscles are tired, then you can't hit a golf ball. So, I mean, I don't know how the professionals, obviously it's so ingrained in them, but, you know, so for an amateur, to do 4 rounds each day back to back is probably quite challenging. But then add, 5 hours of training before that, and we weren't hitting loads of balls, but it was still, we were still doing physical exercise for those hours. Yeah, it's tough. So I don't know what the final format of the boot camp will be. Maybe it's train one day, play the next, or some sequence like that. But we'll figure it out, because it was very intense. And then you're getting diminishing returns because you're going out there trying to apply this stuff, but you're just tired and your body doesn't quite want to make the rotations. Yeah, and it could bring in other issues because your body just doesn't want to do the thing you want it to do. Yeah, because you're like, oh, it's sore.
What was really interesting though is like what I got most out of it is how to think about golf. Yeah, don't you reckon? Like it was more like think about it this way, not like something that Jake kept mentioning, but he kept saying the backswing's basically just an unfolding of the downswing, which the more you think about that, the more you realize that you don't, I think people try too hard on their downswing. Yeah. And really all you've got to do is just focus on the movements of the body. Like I find.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to unpack because I love that phrase from him, but every time he says it, I think you need to unpack it a little bit more because he's saying what he's really saying is that your backswing needs to hit all of the points as specifically as possible to give yourself the best chance to hit that ball accurately on the way down, and then just let it unfold. Right, that's kind of what he's saying. Maybe I didn't think about it like that before, and also, the swing theory stuff was really important as well because we didn't understand that. I think either of us, the path, the club face, and the compression. And as soon as we started understanding that, we were hitting balls way more cleanly. But he would say, you know, you have no idea what you're doing when you're swinging the golf club because you're swinging it at 100 miles an hour. So therefore, your takeaway needs to be as, you know, perfect as possible, or hitting your points, your takeaway points, as much as you can to get yourself in the best position that when you do, you know, when it does unravel, it does come back down, you're as close to how you took the club away at the beginning, right? I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, that was so it was, there's probably like a handful of riddles
Yes,
like
exactly.
that the more you think about them, but like that's even just practicing the other day in the in my office, I realized like, oh man, like I'm honestly just too handsy most of the time. And I started flushing balls when I just focused on getting to a really good spot at the top of the swing.
Yeah.
And then only caring about rotation. And I find that your hands have nothing else to do but to fall into the right places if you just, you know, if you focus on the right things. So it's, so I think, but that's the really cool thing about what we've learnt is that it's causing us to now solve a completely different like range of challenges around how to think about the swing.
Yeah.
So I think what the value of this whole thing is helping people in the philosophy of golf as much as anything, you know, and a lot of what we can potentially do in the future events is not spend as much time in the practical application, but just taking people through how to think about each of the areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the most marketable term, but the term I keep coming back to is holistic golf training, because I think everybody thinks, we've said this before, but I think everybody thinks golf is, you know, 90% swing and 10% equipment. And actually there's so much more that goes with it, you know, in covering all the things that we've talked about. So how do we present the holistic training that increases players' golf knowledge, their golf IQ, optimizes all the swing and the fundamentals and all that stuff as well? And I think if we look back even 6 months ago, to what I thought and what we probably thought scratch golf was, it felt like something that was unobtainable. You know, even 6 months ago before we started this journey, it was like, oh, that's, you know, that's not, I don't know how I would do that. I wouldn't know where to start. I don't have the pathway. I don't understand it. But the more we start to go down that road and uncover it, the more that sort of holistic, you know, value proposition is clarified, is like verified. That is what it is. You need to learn all of this stuff. You know, you need to learn all of these areas, and part of it's knowledge and part of it's practical stuff. But none of it is unachievable for the average person. Like I think that was the biggest takeaway. I think I messaged you afterwards and was like, you know, none of this stuff is rocket science. Is the best term I've got, and I'm a term for it. But it's like, it's not. You just need someone to show you, like any business mastermind, where that person is just showing you the skills that they've learned over the past 5 years, 10 years, and they're packaging it up for you, whether it's marketing or sales or whatever else, and giving you, sort of saving you all that time by just giving you the conclusions and the exercises or the systems to be able to do it yourself, right? So yeah, it's started to feel very achievable. And not just for us, I mean, for everyone. It's like, I think there's a misconception, there's a big, broad misconception out there about what scratch golf is maybe, but how hard it is to actually to get there. And I suspect from what I've seen that preconception is wrong. Like, I think it can be taught. I don't know why it exists, and I don't know why, you know, maybe this kind of product offering has not been put out there already. But from what we've seen, there's definitely a very, you know, viable business here. Yeah.
Well, it's just purely like what any innovation in any industry looks like, really, is you look back in retrospect and go, well, that was obvious. It should be like that.
Yeah.
And I think we're just kind of discovering, well, this is, and I know we haven't done it yet, which is...
No, I know, yeah, we still...
But the thing
put
is,
our money
like,
where our mouths are.
If people could see how the quality of our ball flights at the range, and then the reason that it didn't translate so much to the course is because we were using the swing trainer with the setups intermittently with hitting balls. So we were getting immediate understanding of where to get to. But then when you get out onto the course, you're lost because you haven't ingrained it as much.
Yeah.
But if I guarantee that if anybody just used the swing trainer for 15 minutes and then started to hit balls, they would see the difference immediately. And all we're going to do is flush out our old habits and put in the new ones. But yeah, so that's pretty exciting. So I think maybe what we can do is we can just, in the next episode, let's just take people through kind of our training regimen, and then what we can do is just share some insight into how Thursday goes.
Yeah.
And then I've got to propose next week because it's nearly Christmas. We should do a
I
double
know,
banger.
it's coming in quick.
I was thinking, thinking of doing Bali National and then New Kuta after, or double Bali National and just do a
Sounds awful. Yeah.
either or.
Why don't we just throw in the par 3 course as well? Bukit Pandua.
Oh my god!
Yeah, Bali has one of the best par 3 courses I've ever played. It's like a real full size course made up of par 3s. Yeah, it's beautiful.
We could do that. So that 6:30, 11, get to Pendar, 2 hours. Yeah, it could be done.
Let's do it.
It could be done.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else to cover?
Oh yeah, that's it.
Any other takeaways that are valuable to the audience? I think we've covered most of it. I think
the hard thing is it's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
Until you have all the information and you actually use the tools that we've used.
Yeah.
It's hard to fathom, but you feel the difference in the contact and the swing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you hit like a different kind of ball.
Yeah. 100%.
And then you can hit like 15 of them to what
you can
felt
beat
like
it, right?
Yeah. And it could be repeated, and that's what allowed me to go, okay, I can get to this ball flight and this consistency of like when we were hitting at the pins on the range, we were like the 80-yard flag, we were hitting to within 15, 20 feet every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is not what we could have regularly done. And that's, I think, what's given us the belief. It's like, if I can artificially produce this with a tool on the range right now for 15 minutes, there's got to be a way that I can ingrain this into my overall
every time to go on the course. Yeah.
It's just not enough muscle.
And I guess, just to conclude that is this is what Jake's figured out over, all his years of training and finding the right tools to use that gives him the best results as quickly as possible and consistently. I think is what he'd be after.
And he basically gave us everything, but like his information ended. He's like, that's it. I don't think there's anything else.
Yeah.
And so that this is the operating system that somebody that's played off +5 is using.
Yeah. And I don't know if we've mentioned that before, but that's something that I really love about Jake that he always says. He's like, at the end of this boot camp, I want to give that player their entire operating system or golf game for the rest of their life. Like, I want to give them every piece of it so that they know how to train, how to practice, how to play, how to score, to be a scratch golfer. They shouldn't need anything else. Like, and that's a pretty good, value proposition to offer to a customer.
Yeah.
Like, we'll always have more for you if you want to come back and tweak and tune and improve in other areas or optimize. But, that's a pretty good commitment to the customer. We say, you come, we're going to give you the whole thing.
Yeah.
Based on a pro player's experience and what he's had to go through over 10 plus years to figure all this stuff out. We're going to give it to you in your personal development plan. And when you walk away from the boot camp, if you don't want to, you might not ever have to come back. And you follow the online training and you keep it up, and you're going to just keep learning and learning. But essentially, you have every tool in your back belt that you need to play golf for the rest of your life. That's kind of like, and I love that he has that. That's his vision for the customers. Like, that's how much he wants to take care of them.
Yeah,
which would be pretty awesome, right?
Yeah. It's a pretty good value proposition.
We've still got to test it.
It doesn't, but it will happen. It's just It's just a question of how quick.
Yeah, I liked how you said that. Yeah, exactly. It will happen. It's just a matter. Now, from what we've seen, 100% it will happen. You said that in Vietnam. We both believe that. It's just a question of how long it will take. And 100% it won't take as long as what we used to think getting to scratch was going to take to get there.
Yeah.
Way less. Way less.
The other thing is a lot of what's screwing us up is the old mental routines as we address the ball on the course.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm realizing when we were focusing on flushing balls, P1, P2.
That's it.
Compress.
Yeah.
Compress. And it's just getting used to having the confidence in a completely different way to sit over the ball, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me, there's I think it's three things. There's sort of what my brain thinks the golf swing is versus what it actually is. And I've kind of started to figure that out. And then what my muscle memory thinks it is versus what it really is. And having to, I think two for now, but retrain both of those things, so that my brain can start to correct itself and really understand how that works to get the best results. But there's definitely going to be a bit of that for everybody, I think, which is retraining what you think it is, because that's your brain controlling your muscles to make those movements, and then actually just ingraining it into your muscle memory and fighting your old muscle memory.
Yeah.
Because we've already experienced that as well, right? Those old habits definitely come in on the course, not so much on the range. But when you're on the course, you feel a bit of pressure, you're sort of, maybe checked out a little bit, and then suddenly you're coming in over the top or whatever. Like, why did I do that? But that will all come from the practice and setup routines and the practice with the weighted club on the mat and getting it into muscle memory. And then, getting tweaks from Jake or the coaches to get you in the right shape every time. And then, like you said, you just take that out on the course. It's not about hitting the ball. It's about setting up properly and getting all your alignments set up properly and having the confidence in your muscle memory, whether it's an iron, a driver, or a putt, to just be able to make that motion. And actually, when you're about to make that motion, you want to be as checked out as possible, really.
Yeah.
And just let your subconscious and your muscle memory deliver what your intention is or your visualization is. And I've been consuming a lot of other podcasts actually on the mental side of the game, and that seems to be the conclusion. Like, actually, when you go to hit the ball, all you want to be thinking about is visualizing where that ball's going. That's it.
Yeah.
And everything else you've already done to give yourself the best chance of hitting that shot, or thinking about nothing. That seems to be the conclusion.
The routine's so important.
Exactly.
People without a routine, they get up, and I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to collect all of the swing thoughts that they need before they swing. As okay, do I have all of those swing thoughts in my arsenal?
Yeah. What's my left foot doing? My left heel, my knee. Yeah.
What you should focus on is, just feeling it, and then getting up there and trusting the process that you can deliver the feel, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if the downswing is just an unfolding of the backswing, and that's already built into muscle memory, and you're aligned properly, well, then you've just given yourself the best chance to keep that ball in play, hit your spot, and then on to your next shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm so excited to get the training done now.
Yeah, we're going to get your stick modified.
Yeah,
so let's
get my club
cool.
fixed.
We'll recap next week with our training regimen, and
awesome. Next week we'll have a much better idea of what that online training piece looks like, and what the structure of that is, so we can probably go through that.
Awesome.
And it will just reinforce what we talked about from what we experienced during the dry run.
Cool.
And how we're going to deliver that.
Awesome.
Let's get
good
stuff. All right, let's go and eat.